everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're excited to read Crenshaw again by Catherine Applegate. Last time we left off, Jackson was feeling a little bit upset about how his parents weren't really including him about what was happening to their family. And he could see a lot of the things happening, but they just didn't want him to worry about it, so they didn't want to tell him. So we're going to see what happens next. Chapter 11. I finally fell asleep, but around 11, I woke. I got up to go to the bathroom, and as I headed down the hall, I realized my parents were still awake. I could hear them talking in the living room. They were thinking of places we could go if we couldn't pay the rent. If I don't become an animal scientist, I would make a great spy. My mom said, how about Gladys and Joe, my dad's parents? They live in an apartment in New Jersey. My dad said they only had one extra bedroom. Then he declared, plus, I couldn't live under his roof. He's the most pig-headed man on the planet. Second most pig-headed, said my mom. We could try borrowing money from our families. My dad rubbed his eyes. Do we have a rich relative I've never met? I see your point, said my mom. Then she said, how about my dad's cousin in Idaho who has a ranch? Or her mom in Sarasota who has a condo? Or his old buddy, Cal, who lives in Maine in a trailer. My dad asked which of those people would take in 2 adults, 2 children, and a dog who eats furniture. Besides, he said, he didn't want to accept anyone's handouts. You do realize we can't live in the minivan again, my mom said. No, said my dad, we can't. Aretha's a lot bigger. She'd take up the whole middle seat. Plus, she farts a lot, my dad said. Who knows? Sunday at the yard sale, somebody might give us $1 million for Robin's old high chair. Good point, said my mom. It comes with extra Cheerios stuck to the seat. They fell silent. We should sell the TV, my mom said after a while. I know it's ancient, but still. My dad shook his head. We're not barbarians. He clicked the remote, and an old black and white movie came to life. My mom stood still. I'm so tired. She looked at my dad with her arms crossed over her chest. Look, she said, there's nothing at all wrong with asking for help, Tom. Her voice was low and slow. It was the voice she used when a fight was coming. My chest tightened. The air felt thick. There's everything wrong with asking for help, my dad snapped. It means we've failed. His voice had changed, too. It was sharp and hard. We have not failed. We are doing the best we can, my mom gave a frustrated groan. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, Tom. Really? My dad was yelling. So now we're resorting to fortune cookie wisdom? Like that's going to help put food in our kids' mouths? Well, refusing to ask for help isn't going to. We have asked for help, Sarah. We've been to that food pantry more times than I care to admit. But in the end, this is our problem to solve, my dad shouted. You're not responsible for getting sick, Tom. And you're not responsible for my getting laid off. My mom threw her hands in the air. Oh, what's the point? I'm going to bed. I slipped into the bathroom as my mom stormed down the hall. She slammed her bedroom door so loudly the whole house seemed to tremble. I waited a few minutes to be sure the coast was clear. When I headed back to my room, my dad was still on the couch, staring at the gray ghosts moving across the screen. Have any of you ever witnessed your parents having a fight? Or maybe you've had a fight with your parents? It can be kind of scary sometimes, right? Makes you feel a little bit worried or scared or tense. You could probably understand how Jackson was feeling in that chapter. Chapter 12, and who do we see here? Little Crenshaw poking his head over. I didn't sleep much after that. I tossed and turned, and finally I got up to get some water. Everyone was asleep. My bathroom door was closed, but light was sneaking out of the cracks. I heard humming. I heard splashing. Splish, splish. I said softly. Dad? No answer. Robin? No answer. More humming. It sounded like, how much is that doggy in the window? But I couldn't be sure. I thought about whether it might be an axe murderer, but taking a bath didn't seem like an axe murderer kind of thing to do. I didn't want to open the door. I opened the door an inch. More splashing. A sudsy blob floated by. I opened the door all the way. Crenshaw was taking a bubble bath. Remember, that's our imaginary friend, Cat. So Crenshaw's back. Think in your head, I wonder, do you think that Jackson being so upset has anything to do with Crenshaw? Just keep that in mind as we read. And our last chapter for today is chapter 13. I looked at him. He looked at me. I flew into the bathroom, shut the door, and locked it. Meow, he said. It sounded like a question. I did not say meow back. I did not say anything. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. He was still there when I opened them. Crenshaw seemed even bigger up close. His white stomach rose from the bubbles like a snowy island. His enormous tail draped over the side of the tub. Do you have any purple jelly beans? He asked. He had thick whiskers that poked out from his face like uncooked spaghetti. Can you picture that? No, I said it more to myself than to him. Aretha scratched at the door. Not now, girl, I said. She whined. Crenshaw wrinkled his nose. Ugh, I smell dog. Blech. He was holding one of Robin's rubber duckies. He looked at the duck carefully, then rubbed his forehead on it. Cats have scent glands by their ears, and when they rub something, it's like writing in big letters, "This is mine." You are imaginary, I said, in my firmest voice. You are not real. Crenshaw made himself a beard out of bubbles. I invented you when I was 7, I said, and that means I can uninvent you now. Crenshaw didn't seem to be paying any attention to me. If you don't have purple jelly beans, he said, red will do in a pinch. I looked in the mirror. My face was pale and sweaty. I could still see Crenshaw's reflection. He was making a tiny bubble beard for the rubber duck. You do not exist, I said to the cat in the mirror. I beg to differ, said Crenshaw. Aretha scratched again. Fine, I muttered. I eased open the door an inch to make sure no one was in the hallway listening to me talk to an imaginary cat. Aretha bulldozed through like I had a giant, juicy steak waiting in the tub. I locked the door again. Once she was inside, Aretha stood perfectly still on the bath rug, except for her tail. That was fluttering like a windy day flag. I am positively flummoxed as to why your family felt the need for a dog, said Crenshaw, eyeing her suspiciously. Why not a cat? An animal with some panache, some pizzazz, some dignity. Both my parents are allergic to cats, I said. I am talking to my imaginary friend. I invented him when I was 7. He is here in our bathtub. He has a bubble beard. Aretha tilted her head. Her ears were on alert. When she sniffed the air, her wet nose quivered. Be gone, foul beast, said Crenshaw. Aretha plopped her big paws on the edge of the tub and gave Crenshaw a heartfelt, slobbery kiss. He hissed, long and slow. It sounded more like a bike tire losing air than an angry cat. Aretha tried for another kiss. Crenshaw flicked a paw full of bubbles at her. She caught them in her mouth and ate them. I never have seen the point of dogs, said Crenshaw. You're not real, I said again. You always were a stubborn child. Crenshaw unplugged the tub and stood. Bubbles drifted. Bathwater swirled. Dripping wet. He looked half-size. With his fur slicked down, I could make out the delicate bones of his legs. Water rushed past them like a flood around trees. He had excellent posture. Posture is how you stand. I didn't remember Crenshaw towering above me. I'd gotten a lot taller since I was 7, but had he? Did imaginary friends actually grow? Towel, please, said Crenshaw. And that's where we're going to stop for today. So next time we'll read chapter 14, and you can see our little Crenshaw here at the top of the page peeking through to see us. So Crenshaw has officially come back into Jackson's life in a bubble bath, of all things. And Jackson is trying to convince himself that he is not real and try to make him go away, but it doesn't seem to be working. So if you'd like to do one of your writing responses today, I'll put a picture of that up after we're finished, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye!